Hi, my name is Hunter Bosher. I will be doing my informative speech on genetically modified organisms. Genetically modified organisms has been a controversy topic throughout the decade. In an illustratory conscious behind GMO health assessment, it explores the honesty and distorting the health effects of GMO crops. This speech will explain the difference of pros and cons presented in the GMO industry. The pros and cons represented in genetically modified organisms and how they affect the different aspects of an individual. Genetically modified organisms has various factors that allow people to decide if they're useful or harmful. My first main point is the pros of GMOs. GMOs are designed to resist insects and repel them. A crop is home to various insects which could be harmful or good for the crop. The harmful insects are called pests. This results the farmer to use pesticides which kill insects. GMOs are safe for useful insects such as honeybees and butterflies that help the crops grow. GMO crops are able to withhold various weather conditions. GM crops are made to combat different weather conditions. Most GM crops are able to tolerate extreme heat, harsh coldness, and even droughts within the crop. This is beneficial for the farmers because it helps them when the weather conditions do not affect the crops when presented with these factors. With normal pesticides being sprayed on the crops, extreme wind, sun, rain, and other causes crop to lose pesticide, but when GM crops, this isn't a factor to worry about. They can tolerate herbicides. GM crops can tolerate herbicides, which is very positive for the farmer and the crop. Herbicides are a toxic chemical to the plant, but in this case, not to the crop that contains GMOs. Herbicides keep away unwanted plants like weeds. Keeps the crops clean and have the crops strictly for the wanted plants desired by the farmer. There's a longer shelf life. GM crops develop a longer shelf life for many of the products they produce. According to Sheldon Crimsley, the author of the article An Illustratory Conscious Behind GMO Health Assessment, he states that GMOs are inherently safe for human consumption and do not have to be tested. Coming from the scientist, this is a believable statement due to the effect it has on the plants. My second to last point is it's easy to grow. GM crops are easier for farmers to grow. The chemicals that are sprayed onto the crops create a growing effect for the plant, which makes it a quicker and lesser work for the farmers. Coming into the current millennium era, products are looking to be most effective as possible. In the article Agriculture Biotechnology, the promise and prospect of genetically modified crops, Barros, Sexton, and Zilbert explains that humans are looking to make GMO substance on crops so that they are best suited for foods, fibers, feed, and energy production. With such a busy world going on in today's times, this understandable to attempt to skip a few steps in the process to make it easier. Easy to transportate is my last point in pros. While GMOs help enhance the growing effect and shelf life, this means transportation systems is easier and beneficial for the companies. It only makes sense that GMO crops are tolerate to different conditions and longer shelf life, so it's easier to transport. Traveling in trucks for long periods of time can create humidity and take longer, but GM crops, it doesn't affect them as much as regular crops. As there is many positive aspects for GM crops, there has been studies to show negative effects on society and the individual. The cons of GMO. My first con is allergy spikes. GM crops have a possibility of creating allegedly spikes with an individual. The GM spray can contain nuts, specifically macadamia nuts. This is harmful because the individual who contains the GM crops could have a nut allergy, and it causes an allergic reaction from eating the produce. My second point is antibiotic resistant. As an individual consumes the GM crops, they have a lower immune system, which causes the person to have a higher rate to attract an infection. An infection from a GM crop has caused urgent medical care and many deaths. Even though GM crops have endangered many people due to the effect of their immune system, Latchman stated in the article An Illustratory Conscious Behind GMO Health Assessment that the practice of leaving antibiotic-resistant markers in the GM plant is a hypothetical risk. This statement is false due to the evidence of people needing medical care due to GM antibiotic-resistant crops. My second to last point is cancer possibilities. Cancer is a rare but known factor in the consumption of GM crops. Being diagnosed with cancer from GM crops is caused by herbicides presented in the crops, which can be a positive aspect that I talked about due to the unwanted plants that it takes away. My last point is the lack of research. In half of the organizations that produce GMOs will not allow research to be done on the spray. This is scary for most members of society and also unknown because people who want to know why and what is being hidden from the public. Due to the lack of research, they have tested this substance on animals to see if it's safe for humans to consume. According to Cluster 3 of scientists in the article An Illusory Conscience Behind GMO Health Assessment, they state that when fed to animals, they exhibited harmful effects compared to non-GMO controls, and these results should draw attention to the human health concerns. Due to the lack of research, humans could be harmed ingesting this substance. The unknown factors of GMO is still suspicious today. Even though there's many positive and negative that evens out as well, the consumption of GMOs are decided by the individual. GMO companies are not forcing these crops in a human's body, but they are a large portion of the human life. Being informed with this information, people can take it or leave it. Eating organic crops is healthier but more expensive, and consuming GMO crops does not have the side effects, but easily avoidable with the watch of everyday intake. Thank you, that's it.